Welcome back, this is Goku Sen DBZ, and this time we are looking at the top 20 best-selling consoles of all time. And yes, this is including handhelds in with it. Sometime in the future, maybe I'll do like top 10 lowest selling consoles of all time, which will make me a little sad. But with that said, first up, starting at number 20, was released in 2001, and that is the original, the Microsoft Xbox, or the OG Xbox. But with that said, yeah, coming at 20 is the original Xbox with a estimated 24 million units sold. So yeah, coming in 20, you had to sell at least 24 million units, which did do a couple million more than the GameCube. As last time I checked, I believe the GameCube is somewhere between 21 and 22 million. But with that said, next coming at number 19 was originally released in 1977, so you know it's quite old. But coming in number 19 is kind of a surprise to me. The Atari 2600 comes in at number 19. It sold around an estimated 30 million copies or units sold, which is pretty impressive for the original. As keep in mind when it came out, it was like $200. In today's money, that would be around or more than a grand when you add in inflation and everything. So yeah, interesting. Coming in at number 18 was released in 1988. It would become quite big here in America. Coming in at number 18 is the Sega Genesis, which sold an estimated 30 million, or rather 30 million point 750,000, or 0.75. But yeah, just shy of 31 million units. Personally, I thought the Genesis did better than that because I remember here in America, the Genesis was huge. So it does kind of surprise me a little that it actually sold just about 31 million units. It only sold close to a million more than the Atari 2600, which is kind of surprising to me, in all honesty. Arguably, I am a little biased as my first console was the Genesis, so I was in the beginning a Sega fanboy. But as time has gone on, I've come to appreciate all brands pretty much. Next, coming in at number 17 is kind of a surprise to me. Was released in 2020. Yeah, the year of our destruction, or whatever you want to call it. But coming in number 17 was, or rather is, at least when I checked about a month ago, though since then it may have surpassed 16. But at least when I checked it last, at 17 was the PlayStation 5, with an estimated 32.9 million, or sorry, 32.1 million units sold. Coming in number 16, though, it may have by now in the last month surpassed 16, but last time I checked, 16 was uh, released originally in 1996. The Nintendo 64 with an estimated 32.9 million. So at the time, it was about an 800,000 difference between the two. So by now, it may have already surpassed, and the PS5 may have now, maybe, at 16, which is not bad given how relatively new PS5 is and it's already on the list and already that high. Coming at number 15, released in 1990, at least here in the West, anyways. Um, Definitely has many great classic games over the years, originally known, of course, as the Super Famicom. Coming in at 15 is the Super Nintendo. It sold an estimated 49.4 million units. It was quite impressive. I mean, you would think the Super Nintendo did better than around 49.5 million, but still, that's pretty good overall sales if you ask me. With that said, interestingly enough, coming at number 14 was released in 2013 from Microsoft. Coming in at 14 is the Xbox One. Yes, even though some people wrote it off as a failure and stuff, the Xbox One still managed to sell around 54 million units worldwide. So I would say the Xbox One was still pretty successful at 54 million units sold. And at number 14. Next, coming at number 13, released originally in 1983, and this console would end up selling just shy of 62 million units, which is quite a pretty good number, and on top of it, the fact it was early 80s. Coming in number 13 is the original NES, the original Famicom. Yeah, the original Famicom sold just shy of 62 million units. Pretty successful in my book. That's pretty impressive. Coming in next at number 12, released in 2011, it would be the last traditional handheld, at least as of now, from Nintendo. At number 12 is the Nintendo 3DS, which sold an estimated 75.94 million, so just shy of 76 million units. Arguably, that's pretty impressive. Some people talk like the 3DS was a failure. Well, no offense, but I consider around 76 million units sold pretty good. Though, to be fair, there's a lot of people who had multiple copies, as there were many different variants and skins for them. That's one of the big things to keep into account when it comes to the 3DS. Coming in at number 11, I think surprises a lot of people. Doesn't surprise me because I knew about, and as an earlier big fan. Uh, Coming in at number 11, released in 2004 from Sony. Coming at 11 is the PSP, or PlayStation Portable. It sold around an estimated 81 million units. A lot of people had no clue how big the PSP actually was. But yeah, to be fair, I only personally knew maybe one person who actually owned a PSP, or than myself. And it is a great handheld. It is arguably my top 5 favorite handhelds of all time. I would probably put it around maybe 4 or 3, around that range. But for me, it's great, especially it has some superb fine games. But with that said, coming in now at number 10, released in 2001. Now this includes both the original and the micro, as well as the SP model, all combined. But coming at number 10 goes to Nintendo, released in 2001, the Game Boy Advance. Coming at 10. Game Boy Advance sold an estimated 81.5 million, so about 500,000 more units than the PSP, so it just barely beat the PSP out for number 10. So it's pretty close between the two. Coming in next at number 9, released in 2005, relatively earlier, and it got a lead start at the time, though it would end up falling into third place for the 7th generation. Coming in at number 9 is the Xbox 360, which sold an estimated 84 million units. Quite impressive. Now, as somebody who did many moons ago have an original 360, yeah, I did experience the red ring of death like many people out there. But then when I got another one, I just waited a couple of years and got the Elite model with all those bugs pretty much worked out. Thank goodness it doesn't have the same overheating issues that the original had. But I do have quite a bit of good memories with the 360, specifically stuff like Dead or Alive 4, of course, Fable 2, Fable 3, Lost Odyssey, and many other great games. But I'm not surprised, came in at 9 with 84 million. Coming in at number 8, just barely beating it out, released in 2006. it was for the longest time there in third place of the 7th generation. It would end up coming in second place by the end. Um, Selling an estimated 87 million units, about 3 million more than the 360, would end up the PlayStation 3, would end up selling 87 million. So congrats to the PS3. It actually ended up doing very well at the end, thanks to many great exclusives towards the end of its life cycle, specifically games that really stand out to me. Well, The Last of Us being one of the big ones, as well as God of War 3 and many others. With that said, coming in at number 7 was the king of the 7th console generation, released in 2006. And that would be from Nintendo, which would hit the casual market very hard, selling an estimated 101.6 million units sold. Coming in 7th place is the Nintendo Wii. Like I've said before, I am not a fan really of the Wii overall. I'm not a fan of the motion controls and everything. There have been, yes, there are games on it I love, don't get me wrong. But with that said, overall, still it blows my mind the fact that it sold over 101 million units, which is crazy. Coming in at number 6, originally released in 1994. It would have a pretty good length life cycle, especially thanks to people, or rather publishers, that would really help it become big. Things like definitely Squaresoft, as well as Capcom, as well as you would have a lot of stuff from Ubisoft, especially Activision and EA games and everything. Coming in at number 6 is the PlayStation 1, selling an estimated 102.5 million units sold. No surprise, it still remained just barely ended up about a million units more than the Wii. I'm glad the Wii was not able to surpass the PS1. PS1 deserves all of its credibility and stuff. I mean, as of currently and stuff, the PS1 is my number 2 favorite console of all time. For a long time there, it was one, thanks to games like Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy IX, Chrono Cross, Final Fantasy Tactics, Lunar, also Tekken 3, and many other great games throughout the years and genres. But with that said, coming in at number 5, released in 2013. Last time I checked, it has sold now an estimated just around even 118 million units has sold. Now, according to some statistics, they're now saying that actually this has gained 4th place. So we'll consider it more or less a tie between the two, because both are estimated to be around the 118 million mark. They are between first release in 2013, the PlayStation 4, and tied basically with the other one, which is from Nintendo, the Game Boy / Game Boy Color. So yeah, both of them have sold around the same amount, so it's pretty much a deadlock between 4 and 5. Coming in at number 3, last time I checked, it released in 2017. It is right now estimated at around 118 million units. Or not 118, but 122 million units, which is crazy. By the end of this year, it's estimated to be about 125, 126 million, which is bonkers, in my opinion. But coming in number 3 is the Nintendo Switch. Coming in at number 2 is the best-selling handheld of all time. And that goes, of course, to Nintendo. Released in 2004, selling an estimated 154 million units. So currently, still holds 32 million over the Switch. And that is the Nintendo DS. Comes in at number 2. And of course, number 1 should not be a surprise to anyone. Released in 2000. And the second console to the 6th generation. And many people's favorite console of all time. And that is coming at number 1 with 155 million units sold. The PlayStation 2 is the king and remains to this day the king, though the DS came very close, within a million of it. But still, the PS2 remains the king of all time of consoles. So with that said, what is your opinion on the best-selling consoles of all time? Are you surprised by any of these? Like, for instance, the Switch has already sold 122 million, or the fact the Xbox One has actually sold like 54 million, or of course the PS4 has sold, I mean, for goodness sakes, is pretty much neck and neck with about 118 million units sold. But that's it. I'll see y'all again. Stay safe. The music today was from, of course, Mirror's Edge Catalyst. But with that said, I'll see you again soon enough.